Let's get to the news. When asked in a phone call on Friday with the New York Post about his feud with Elon Musk, President Trump said, quote, "Nothing catches me by surprise, nothing." Well, right, except for that time you won, that time you lost, and wind. Amid his escalating feud with Elon Musk, President Trump said last week that he was, quote, "not even thinking about Elon," which is weird because the question was about tariffs. When asked in a new interview about Elon Musk tweeting that he was in the Jeffrey Epstein files, President Trump said, quote, "That's called old news." Never a good sign when someone accuses you of being in the Epstein files and your response is, "Please, everybody knows that already. I've done so much worse." In a post early this morning on Truth Social, President Trump commented on protests in Los Angeles and said, quote, "Arrest the people in face masks now." Well, it's LA. Those might not be masks. It might just be their faces. That's right, President Trump said, quote, "Arrest the people in face masks now." Dude, it's LA. You gotta be more specific. Do you mean the Spider-Man on Hollywood Boulevard? The wrestlers at Lucha Vavoom? The sex party in the Hollywood Hills? Did you mean your guys? Hours after an article was published about President Trump's New Jersey golf club receiving a C grade from the health department, another inspection was completed and the club received a B. Not only that, but the inspector gave it 2 thumbs up. I like that they broke his thumbs and he's still like, "I can't give you an A." They're like, no, of course not. This place is In a post last week on Truth Social, President Trump said, quote, "America is hot. 6 months ago, it was cold as ice." That's right, you guys. Trump finally found out about seasons. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates on Friday visited the White House. Apparently, Trump needed help with a CAPTCHA. And now, so is it if it's a part of a bridge that counts? Tom Cruise was awarded a Guinness World Record while filming Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning after completing 16 burning parachute jumps. It was the only way they could get him to stop doing it. The fast food chain KFC today launched a new Peaches and Cream Sweet Lightning drink, which features Mountain Dew Sweet Lightning soda with vanilla cream. And this is cool. It's based on Dr. Kevorkian's original recipe. Is Dr. Kevorkian less in the news than we thought? And finally, the New York Post recently published a list of the Long Island towns that are most often mispronounced. For instance, this town is actually pronounced "keep driving." When asked yesterday if border czar Tom Homan should arrest California Governor Gavin Newsom, President Trump said he would do it and added, quote, "I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent." Ah, yes, the old compliment, searing insult. Imagine Trump giving a eulogy. "Super guy will be greatly missed. World's tiniest penis." In a new interview, President Trump said that Elon Musk has been disrespectful to the office of the president, and if the guy selling these thinks that's bad, he has no respect for the office, and I'm putting the White House on Airbnb. President Trump is set to attend the opening night of Les Miserables this week at the Kennedy Center. It's the story of a convicted criminal who struggles to find redemption by going to see Les Miserables at the Kennedy Center. That's right, President Trump will attend a production of Les Miserables. Also, Les Miserables is French for how Trump will feel while sitting through it. The fast food chain Chipotle is set next week to launch a new adobo ranch dip, and then about 4 hours later, you'll launch it. The New York Times recently published a profile on people who search in dumpsters for luxury items discarded by college students at the end of the school year. But unfortunately, all you can find in the UMass dumpsters is the diploma. Here's the thing. I don't like these jokes. We have Mike Scollins as a writer on the show. He's our resident masshole, and for some reason, he just turns against his own state constantly. Disney World announced last week it'll be closing the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and the Liberty Square riverboat attractions. "Oh no," said your lamest kid. Also Scollins. A DoorDash delivery driver in Washington State was arrested recently after he allegedly returned to a customer's house with a gun and demanded a cash tip. Even worse, he asked if he could use the bathroom. Authorities in Virginia recently arrested 3 people who allegedly stole more than $30,000 worth of candles from several Bath and Body Works stores. Wait, it took 3 people to steal 7 candles? And finally, today was National Call Your Doctor Day because maybe they just forgot you were in there. President Trump is set to attend a production of Les Miserables this evening at the Kennedy Center and then attend a strategy meeting with the Phantom of the Opera. President Trump warned yesterday that any protests against Saturday's military parade in Washington, D.C. will be met with very big force and added, quote, "This is people that hate our country." This is people, very big force. Well, hey, at least he's not a grammar Nazi. Could be worse. During a speech yesterday at Fort Bragg to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, President Trump spoke about the need to, quote, liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. Though, if you think Los Angeles was ever safe, then you've never tried to merge onto a 6-lane freeway at 80 miles an hour with the sun in your eyes. In a new interview, President Trump said that his children have a future in politics and added that his son Barron is, quote, very tall and good. Nice. Sounds like Trump knows as much about Barron as your grandma knows about LeBron James. Then when asked if his eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., might run for president, Trump said that Don is a good guy and added, quote, he's an outdoorsman. Oh my God, he talks about his kids like he's reading their Wikipedia profiles. I love Don Jr., born in December 1977 in New York City. That's where I'm from. During a press conference in the Oval Office yesterday, President Trump told a reporter that if it wasn't for the U.S. intervening in World War II, she might be speaking a combination of German and Japanese. That would be a strange language, but a worse restaurant. Well, I kind of thought the bratwurst would be instead of the fish, which now kind of sounds pretty awesome. The makers of Dr. Pepper have issued a recall for more than 19,000 cases of its Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar because it contains full sugar soda. But don't worry, it's still perfectly safe to drink Dr. Pepper Zero Rat Parts. Still better than Diet Dr. Pepper, right? A man in Connecticut was arrested recently after he allegedly drove at more than 130 miles per hour on a highway because he was late for a job interview. Said the interviewer, okay, creative problem solver. Disney World has announced that it will reimagine Hollywood Studios' rock and roll... Sorry. There's a very long name for a ride, I will say, in my defense. Disney World has announced it will reimagine Hollywood Studios' rock and roller coaster starring Aerosmith to be a Muppets-themed ride. So, you know, minimal changes. How long do you think it's going to take you, fellas? We're done. The website Boston.com is hosting a What is the Best Boston Movie tournament-style bracket, and they have asked that you please stop writing in your mother's sex tape. And finally, a Swiss man recently spent more than 2 hours buried under a mound of snow to break a Guinness World Record. The record was for highest balls. Let's just kind of sit with that one. Before watching a production of Les Miserables last night with President Trump at the Kennedy Center, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told reporters that, quote, a civilization ultimately is judged based upon its culture and its art, which is why they attended the famously American play Les Miserables. When asked at last night's Kennedy Center production of Les Miserables which character he most identified with, President Trump responded, quote, oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. All right, that's famously not a tough one. there's a pretty clear good guy and bad guy. But then I think Trump would have the same problem after a screening of Star Wars. Oh, that's a tough one. Darth Vader's a mean guy, but also the Skywalker kid was very rude to the gay robot. I think it's really good. You guys know exactly who I'm doing. President Trump posted this morning on Truth Social to promote the so-called Trump card for immigration that allows wealthy foreign nationals to purchase citizenship for $5 million. It's a real slap in the face to immigrants who had to do it the hard way. President Trump posted this morning on Truth Social and said, quote, "The China deal is great, but it's not the one you're thinking of." The congressional baseball game was held last night, and the Republicans beat the Democrats 13-2, despite Chuck Schumer's sternly worded letter to stop hitting the ball. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is reportedly considering ways to revamp President Trump's intelligence briefing to make it more aligned with how he likes to consume information, like listing it under the centerfold's turn-ons. It's weird, like, I mean, I was like, what? I was like, what's the picture that they're reacting to? I'm like, oh, no. Just the cartoon bunny. Republican Congressman Greg Steube recently introduced legislation that would rename Washington, D.C.'s Metro rail system the Trump train, though if we're going to name anything the Trump train, it should be the New York City subway because it's constantly broken and it's filled with crazy people. A whip used by Indiana Jones in the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is set to go up for auction later this month, even though it belongs in a museum. Pretty good callback. Yeah. That's right, Heritage Auctions has announced it will hold a sale next month of movie props, including items from The Empire Strikes Back, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and Citizen Kane. Now you can own memorabilia from 2 of your favorite movies, plus the movie you tell people is your favorite movie. According to a new survey, 23% of Americans who attend a book club said that they met a romantic interest at the meeting, plus a pretty good idea of what they're into. A man was recently arrested at a Florida strip club after he allegedly called 911 from a private room to complain that he had to pay $300, but the dancer refused to have sex with them. Of course, it's still Florida 911, so I'm sure they were like, try 500? According to a new ranking, In-N-Out Burger has the best fast food French fries. Of course, everyone knows the best French fries are someone else's. Every now and then we like to put in a cutie pie joke. That's right, the restaurant supply company Seating Masters recently published a ranking of the best fast food French fries. And you know it's legit because it was written by this guy. I mean, I knew we were going to use a seagull for that joke. I just didn't know he was going to have a little hat and tie. I feel like the hat and tie made it a little more confusing, but you know what? Cutie pie, back-to-back cutie pies. You guys, that was a monologue, everybody. We're off and running.